job of any chronicler of Carnival, preserving and presenting the celebration's past for the future. Even more than a century ago, New Orleans, especially at Carnival time, drew its fair share of visitors. Thanks to a special scrapbook, we don't have to imagine what a visit was like for one group. It's all there. In 1903, two families and some friends from Champaign, Illinois, embarked on a journey traveling by train to New Orleans for what they called the Great Gras. One of the travelers kept this scrapbook of their adventures, providing us a glance into what it was like to take part in Carnival and to do a bit of sightseeing over 100 years ago. Members of the Telling and Grandin families were a lively and, at times, an irreverent bunch. They traveled on the Illinois Central line and, during their visit to the city, slept on the train. The train terminal, the original Union Station, downtown. One of their first stops was the U.S. Mint in the French Quarter.
Saturday, February 21st, 1903, 9:30 a.m. Rush for Mint, where entertainment is given our party.
9:15. Arrive at French Opera, where we see the youth, aged 86, and the Valentine beauty of the South.
The group is up early the next morning to visit the French market.
7:40. Mary takes a ride in the milk cart, thinking it's the water wagon.
2 p.m. The whole gang takes a drive about the city along the Shell Road to Metairie Cemetery, through the parks, and to St. Roch's.
The group then heads to the Mississippi riverfront to await the Monday arrival of Rex.
1 o'clock. On his arrival, the screeching and the tooting of the whistles for the next 20 minutes is simply awful, worse even than Ruth's singing. 8 o'clock. View the Proteus parade. As everybody behaves himself, we get back tired and sleepy.
Tuesday, February 24th, 1903. The great and only Mardi Gras. 8:30. We partake delicately of breakfast.
9:30 to 10:30. A continuous rubber performance by the entire party on the back platform, interspersed by frantic 100-yard dashes into the street by Grace and Ruth to get a perfectly dandy picture.
"10:45. The gang sallies forth to roam the streets.
The photos they took on the streets show us the often homemade costumes and almost eerie masks worn by revelers. The group walks over to Canal Street to see the Rex Parade. Its theme that year, feasts and fetes.
12 to 2:30. Watch the Rex Parade.
This group seems to have had local ties, for in the evening they attend the Rex Ball, held in Washington Artillery Hall downtown in the 700 block of St. Charles Avenue.
We manage to get to the Rex Ball in time. We all assemble in the ballroom amid a throng of youth and beauty composed of little heenies and sheenies. After keeping the chairs warm for some time, we promenade through to see Rexy and the Queen, over whose looks the party have violent disagreement.
Wednesday, February 25th, 1903, 1:35. Lunch at Faubacher's. Large, healthy oysters which phase all but Irv.
8 o'clock. Play cards, eat our last chocolates, and bemoan our fate in going home.
Finally, the group must pack up and say goodbye to New Orleans, and a once-in-a-lifetime adventure, taking the train back to Illinois.
All the children extend a vote of thanks to Pa and Ma.
And we too extend a vote of thanks to Pa and Ma and to the University of New Orleans Library, where the scrapbook is in good hands. how fortunate to be able to explore this century-old magical mystery tour of New Orleans at carnival time. There's a story behind each piece of royal attire from head to toe. Let's visit with Rex's royal bootmaker. Wherever the King of Carnival goes, His Majesty's royal attire glows, from his crowning jewels to the tips of his toes. The parade costume was designed to look good in the sunlight. The ball costume is to look good in the spotlight. These boots are actually made for the parade. The ball boots would have a different rhinestone around the edge. It would match this and coordinate with the rhinestones here that you see on the sleeve. These kind of coordinate with the stonework on the parade costume. These are made especially for the kings. Rex is gold, and the other organizations use white boots. At 81 years of age, Calvin Days has been the royal bootmaker for over half a century. Days follows a tradition he learned as a child from his father in Jamaica.
Everybody got their own boots. All I do is boots.
To own a pair of these handcrafted gems, each and every king must put his best foot forward, for the key to the supple boots that flow over the leg like butter are a series of precise measurements.
Those measurements I take from there, I put it into this, because I don't know how to cut the pattern to fit the mold. This is the computer. Because it can't produce nothing you didn't put in. And everything you put in got to come out this one. Did you know that?
Day's talent extends to using a special ingredient.
To make a starch, it's a paste I put on the leather. I've been using it all my life. And since I could get it over there, I don't know if the starch here would work like this. These are called the counters that sit in the back of the shoes. The shoes that you buy in the store got cardboard in them. I use leather all the way. And it goes up in here with that starch.
In his shop in the back, this carnival legend does what he calls his real work, his passion.
Look at this foot. This is a cast of a man's foot. And you notice how it's set back after he's standing up. You see, he would be, can't walk like that. I make this. How it look now? Straight up. And I make the shoes on this.
To me, this is a dying craft. I don't know what we're going to do without him. If magic exists in the 21st century, it lies in the skilled hands of master cobbler Calvin Days, who enables the disabled to walk upright while crafting fancy footwork fit for a king. A king must dress the part for his royal subjects and can't forget the royal accessories. Steve Bellis shares with us the story of the crown and the scepter.
When the courts of Rex and Comus meet to celebrate the close of Mardi Gras, everything from the music to the attire is steeped in tradition. Since 1873, Rex and his queen have greeted their guests with a proper crown and scepter for each event.
The first real event, I guess, is our Mardi Gras, and there's a special Mardi Gras crown. There's no scepter that the Lundy King uses, but there is a crown, and it's different from the other crowns. We also have a parade crown and a parade scepter, and a ball crown and a ball scepter.
Today, the crown of Rex is resized each year to give His Majesty the perfect fit, but there was a time when the crown and scepter were more specialized.
One of the things that is different now from the way that it used to be with the crown jewels is that from time to time, especially in the very early years, the crowns and scepters actually depicted the theme of the ball.
The Queen of the Mystic Crew of Comus holds a long-standing tradition for this organization in her crown.
There was a particular pattern of crown called the Lily of the Valley design that the Queen of the Mystic Crew of Comus began wearing in her crown jewels. That is a design that has lasted for some possibly 90 years.
And what is appropriate to adorn the head of a god such as Comus?
The monarch of the Comus organization is not a true king. Therefore, he does not wear a true crown. He does wear a headpiece that resembles a crown, but his headpiece has plumes in it. Also, the man who portrays Comus, rather than carrying a scepter, carries a cup.
No doubt the crown is a distinctive of a monarch's raiment, but there are subtle nuances that are important to the proper use of a scepter.
Believe it or not, Rexes do go through a training. There's a lady in the city that trains on the correct way to use a scepter. The distinction between a crumb and a scepter is a fairly large one, but some people may not recognize it. A scepter is when you greet a large number of people, a large audience, such as when you arrive at Gallier Hall and there are crowds on both sides, or when you get into the auditorium and you greet all the guests at the Rex Ball. It's a large arcing motion which starts from the left to the right. Now with a crumb, which is a recognition of one or two people, and it's just a small motion using your wrist and a little bit of your forearm, but not your shoulder and not your entire arm.
So this year, whether you've been sceptered or crumbed, it's safe to say that you've been fully initiated into Mardi Gras.
In addition to being a chronicler of Carnival, one man also spent his life chronicling aspects of New Orleans history. Phil Johnson recalls his friend Pie Dufour.
His name was Charles L. Dufour, but most everyone knew him as Pie. And after reading his work, you had to figure he knew just about everything there was to know about New Orleans Carnival. For over 70 years, this journalist and historian gladly used his talents to share that knowledge with his readers. In fact, just before his death in 1996, one local publication surmised that Pie Dufour had put more words about Mardi Gras into print than any other man. No arguments here. But Carnival was not his only subject, and that fact demonstrates his versatility as a chronicler and student of history. In fact, his journalism career began in 1924, inside the sports pages of the old Item newspaper. Former stateside editor Walter Cowan was Dufour's boss, friend, and later collaborator. In the 1980s, he and Pie formed part of the team that wrote two well-respected local history books, one in New Orleans, another on Louisiana. Cowan himself helped share a rare tidbit of local history, how his friend Charles Dufour earned the childhood nickname Pie. As a sandlot baseball player, Dufour stumbled and fell one day and skinned his chin.
And when you skinned his chin, it caused a big sore-like thing, you know. And as that healed, a scab formed. And that scab was round and on his chin, and as it matured, so to speak, it broke into segments. And it looked like a pie. And his friends all started killing him. Dufour, you Pie Dufour, you know? And that name stuck to him through life.
And he thought this was really gross and would never tell people. And in fact, I had to be married with children before he would tell me. But that's where it comes from.
In later years, you might say the name Pie helped personalize Dufour's published work. In 1946, he went to work for the States, later called the States Item newspaper. And his column, called Pie's a la mode, would appear in those pages for 33 years. Those columns focused on everything from Tuscanini and Tulane football to the history of the Civil War and the mystic crew of Comus. Some called that mix of topics remarkable. Pie called it the calling card of a good reporter.
In this age of specialists, he was sort of a generalist, you know, and he saw nothing, you know, at all wrong, you know, or putting him at a disadvantage in being that way. And I think nowadays it's hard for people to be generalists, you know. I mean, it's we all specialize in various things.
In addition to penning dozens of books during his career, Dufour wrote 9,700 daily newspaper columns in all. And once a year, most of those focused on Carnival. In his writing, Dufour was a stickler for tradition, never calling the Mardi Gras monarch King Rex,